I'm Anna Webb. Welcome to A Dog's Life. Hey Mr. Binks, you know how much you love your Keeper's Mix. Well, you've got a treat in store because we're heading down to Dorchester to Dorwest Herbs to chat about Keeper's Mix and a whole lot more. Hey Mr. Binks, well how excited are we? Because we're actually in Dorchester with the Dorwest team and Joe Broughton-White, who is the MD of Dorwest Herbs. And we are going to have a little sneak around, with their permission, aren't we, to look at how the herbs are actually made into the finished products.
Hi Anna, yeah, it's great to have you here today. Mr. Binks too, of course. Can't wait to show you around and you can see exactly what we do here at Dorwest. This is one of our clean rooms. As you can see, it's obviously very clean. It almost looks a bit pharmaceutical in nature. So that's our tablet counter machine. You can see our finished products, and I think it's probably skullcap and valerian on the line. That is going into the hopper and it runs past the electronic eyes. It's being checked for quality, so being counted into each pot. Every label has got its own number and its batch number, so we can know exactly when it's been packaged as well.
Gosh, and it's so amazing. Gosh, I mean, what is a hopper?
Oh, the hopper. So that's on top of the tablet machine. That is where the bulk tablets are popped in and they're jiggled around so we can see if there's any ones that aren't fully shaped that they're pulled out, and then it comes down and just processed, passes electronic eye to make sure we always get the exactly right number of tablets in every pot, as well as the operators also do checks as well during the process.
And I guess that's important as well for the dosing, so that each tablet is kind of the right size and weight, so that if your dog is wanting 3 tablets, you know that they're all the right size.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, obviously it goes through a lot of quality checks when it's manufactured at the factory it's manufactured, but here we do lots of additional checks as well to make sure. So we have very few incidents of any kind of pots coming back with half tablets or anything like that. No, quality is something that we hold kind of to the core of our values. So
absolutely, and of course, it's so amazing how the way that you formulate the herbs, because I've been a great fan of Dorwest for many years and use skullcap and valerian, which is a topical product to be talking about, what with bonfire night and the season of fireworks.
Soon be here.
And stress, like Christmas, we all know how stressed we get, and of course it all transfers to our four-legged friends.
Yeah, people think it's just fireworks night, but it's not. It's this whole period. We've got Halloween, bonfire night, Diwali, then into Christmas, New Year, family, friends. So this period is quite stressful for our dogs, and I think obviously over the last 2 years with the changes in everything going on and not seeing people and seeing people, as everyone knows, there's been a lot more kind of discussion around canine anxiety and reintroducing them to kind of busier environments and for the puppies, obviously, that have been born during this period as well. So.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And you can really spot, it sounds a bit awful, but the pandemic generation dogs when you're out and about that have lacked that kind of structure and, the opportunities to meet all sorts of people with hats, people with beards, tall people, short people, and children often as well, that they haven't got experience around.
Things we don't even always think about, do we? And then suddenly you think, oh, poor dog, would never have seen that. Yeah, so skullcap and valerian is great for supporting dogs through that time alongside behavioural work and proper socialisation.
Yeah. It isn't as easy as just taking a pill.
Take a tablet and everything's going to be fine. No, a little bit more work than that. But that's what we kind of is support. It's part of the entire kind of holistic process, isn't it, to get your dog to be as good as it can be in those situations. So
it is indeed. So no, we love that. And of course the valerian compound, which is slightly different because would you call that a tincture, Joe?
Yes, I suppose so. Yeah, I mean it's a pure extract. It's 3 herbs extracted. They're extracted through alcohol, ethanol, which is like the most efficient way of getting all the goodness through, and that's all it is in it. So it has people are like, oh, it smells. Yes, it does smell because it's just herbs basically, and valerian does have quite a distinct odour. So it is a tincture, a mix of those 3 herbs. We actually produced it because of a worldwide shortage of skullcap herb for the tablets. And we had so many of our customers, quite a long time ago, about 20 years ago, we had so many customers absolutely dependent on the tablets. What can we do to support them during this time? We can't just, these dogs depend on us, their owners depend on us. So we produced this tincture as the kind of next best thing, but we've kept it on because being a liquid, it's so easily usable. So for one-off situations, for travelling, when you want a quicker acting product, of course a liquid gets into the system a little bit quicker. So it's great for topping up as well. And actually I get people use it just by dropping it on the bedding and for cats, because they actually quite like valerian, so they will actually sit there and smell it. And of course you get that olfactory response as well. So it's great for that. So both ways. In fact, people put it in some of those the incense kind of with the little reeds as well. They put it in that. I was like, you must all have been a bit sleepy after that. But yeah, no, but valerian compound is great. So we recommend using that alongside the tablet. But the tablet use it every day, and it really helps. It calms the nervous system, basically. That's what it is. It's a sedative, but for the central nervous system rather than for muscle. So it doesn't sedate muscle, so your dog's not going to be collapsing like a traditional pharmaceutical sedative. But it really helps, like the nervine qualities of the product. So it helps keep those stress hormones low. And that's the key with the skullcap and valerian. You want to be giving it every day before the dog gets stressed. So that's why we say start early, because as you would know, and I'm sure you're correct, but cortisol, stress hormone, once it builds up in the body, it can take days for it to come back down again. So once it's up, you have to get it all out of the system 3-4 days before. So if you can keep the dog calmer, you're going to get a much better result, because once they get up to that red kind of light, really stressed, climbing the walls, it's much harder to bring them back down, because some people want to think, we could just use the compound once they're stressed, but it's not. We want to keep them calm before they get stressed. Yeah.
That's it, and I think that's something people don't understand as much. I mean, people are quite new pet parents, think a bit like when we have a headache, we'll take a headache pill, and it will work fairly quickly.
That's true.
But it's not the same really with dogs, because you are dealing from a bigger behavioural context, and also dogs don't understand why the stressors are happening. Particularly dogs, for example, that are noise sensitive. I mean, that I find quite common at the moment, dealing with noise sensitivities, and how that can really cause stress and fear in many situations, not only fireworks, but all sorts of situations, traffic, children's playgrounds, odd things cause a fright.
And I think it's quite easy to miss. It's very easy to miss those early indicators that your dog is not happy with the noise and is stressed until the stress level is quite high, and then they are really reacting. When we start seeing the panting, the shivering, the quaking. But those early little ones, I always know the first lick of the lips I got one that's noise phobic, and I know there's someone shoot on Saturday afternoons locally, and she can hear it before I can hear it, and I hear it still, and just that little drop in body posture, and then I know straight away. But I think it's very easy to miss, and like you said, once they get to that level, it's entirely different. But you're so right with the headache analogy. That's a great way of thinking it. We don't wait until we see it. We want to try and stop it getting to that stress level.
It's almost like the symptom is one thing, but it's like working causally to stop the symptoms occurring. Once the symptoms are there, it's almost too late.
Yeah, and it just gets worse and worse every year. Get worse. Every time it's noise, it gets worse.
And people really need to spend more time, I think, learning how to speak dog, like you're saying about the licking the lips and the body posture. I think that should be mandatory myself.
It would be amazing.
So it would really help people to, see when their dog might be feeling, as I call it, a bit peaky, a bit off. Dogs have off days like we do. And then, you can then think, all right, well, we wonder what's causing that. Maybe we need something something, to boost the immune system from a natural perspective, because that's something I think perhaps, on the conventional side of things, looking at the immune system, it doesn't really factor into it very much. It's always looking at the symptom rather than the cause, which can be from the immune system, which I know is why I've, over the years, really used Keeper's Mix. Well, I mean, I hope that's right.
We love Keepers.
We do.
Keepers Mix is your everything.
I know, it's a friend of mine who breeds flat coats, actually, Polly King, who actually got me onto Keepers quite a few years ago.
Yes. I mean, Keepers Mix is people's kind of, and I think that mentality has changed, like we're saying about people are using natural products on themselves on a daily basis to prevent themselves getting ill, keep themselves as healthy as they can be. And those that are having that same train of thought for their animals, so let's try and keep our dogs healthy, they're like, what can I give my dog every day just to make sure it's okay? A bit like a multivitamin for dogs, and that's kind of what we hear on the phones and on the trade stand. And so Keepers Mix is the answer. Keepers Mix is your everyday product because, it's great because unlike the tablets, obviously when you make a tablet, it's got other ingredients to make it into the shape of a tablet. So it does have excipients in it. But the Keepers Mix is your 100% pure. So there's nothing in it but herbs. There's 8 different herbs and each one was put in it for different parts of the body. So it's really balanced. So it is your all-round herbal health. It was taken from a formulation like a gamekeeper with his dogs. He used to kind of, put together some herbs and a bit of the nettles and some of the like alfalfa and a bit of all that, and it seemed to help their dog. So it's originally from that. I think we were just working it out. It's been around about 30, 40 years now. Yeah, so one herb's for joints, one herb's for digestion, one's for the coat, one's for the skin. So it is that all round. So it's not just for the immune system, it's just everything. So it is absolutely amazing. It's our foundation project. Do you know about our foundation or not? A little bit.
Well, I know Dorwest has been around for a very long time, which fascinates me because you were founded in 1948, I think, by your grandparents. Which interests me as well because that was an era where antibiotics weren't even readily available to humans, let alone dogs, because it was just after the war. And I think antibiotics were introduced around the time of the Second World War. So we were chatting earlier. I mean, what did people take then if you had a cold or, you've got the flu?
Yeah, and I really do think they used what was around them, and I don't think herbs it wasn't a kind of alternative choice then. It was the choice, wasn't it? So, and I think nowadays there was that period people thought herbs are very kind of witchcrafty and very alternative, a bit hippie, and actually that was what they had, what was growing in the garden or what they had access to, so they used it. So my grandfather definitely had a real interest in natural products. My grandmother was ill, and so he was using herbs to help her at the time, and he grew a lot of herbs as well, so he was selling those. And then he put together these formulations based on, he was a great writer, great reader, so he put together based on old books, talk about Juliet de Brackley Levy's books, and a whole host of other ones. I've still got his original library of all these herbal books. Put together these formulations, and they were used for all different animals, for humans and for dogs and cats. But it wasn't really until the 60s and 70s when my parents took over, who are dog mad, that they decided we must focus on what we love, because I think that's always the roots of a successful business and life, isn't it? If you can work in something that is all, is your passion. So they were dog people, so they decided to focus completely on dogs. So some of the formulations have been adjusted, and then we've brought in more throughout the years, including Keepers Mix, which, like I said, for a while. Now, when I said a foundation, we actually launched a Dorwest Foundation for our 70th anniversary, so 4 years ago now, and actually 10% of the profits of Keepers Mix go to that foundation, and we give that to animal charities, so animals in need, and smaller ones generally, so anything that helps their quality of life. And actually, when we launched Keepers Mix Sensitive, which was 2 years ago now, I think it was around locked, just, yeah, it must have been 2020. We bought that out, and again, that is a part of the foundation. So again, 10% of that one. Now that is lovely, the Keeper's Mix Sensitive. Have you tried it?
No, yes, that's new to me. You
Okay,
see. So actually, it's great to talk about it. So how is it different, and you know, what type of dog would benefit from that rather than the generic Keeper's Mix?
I mean, I think we're always going to have the people that are Keeper's Mix straight, you know, the OG,
I'm
the original.
I'm a bit like that. I like to stick with what I know.
Yeah. It's just a couple of herbs difference. Keeper's Mix, the only thing is that it smells quite strong, but again, because it is, and we use such great quality herbs, they are quite, you know, smelly, and a couple of them in there are slightly more bitter. So the wild yam and rosemary. And some people are not so keen on rosemary because if your dog has epilepsy, it's not a great herb to use because it's olfactory. It's the aromatics in it are so strong, aren't they? So we decided to remove the more bitter herb, rosemary, and celery seed, which is more for joints. And then we brought in chamomile. So that overall balance, and marshmallow, which is great for the digestion and soothing. So it's great for puppies. So that's when we almost called it puppy, but actually it just suits anyone's a bit sensitive or they're a little bit more of a delicate palate, shall we say, and found the Keeper's Mix a bit overwhelming. So it smells a bit more like a summery day, but it has a bit more of a focus on that digestion. And chamomile obviously just gives that overall balance to the body in general. So it's quite nice for puppies and juveniles convalescing. I love it actually. All mine get the sensitive now, just because I love chamomile smell anyway. So although it's only mild, that's lovely.
No, chamomile is such a
marshmallow's
powerful herb, you know, for so much. I mean, it's quite soothing as well, and arguably quite balances anxiety to a degree as well.
And I love the balance of herbs is what brings. And marshmallow root is incredible for digestion. It's in our tree barks powder as well, but just want a little bit of digestive support. It's not the true tree barks powder is our digestive support one, but it just gives that little bit, and people find the motion's really good on it, so great for poos.
Jo, this is fascinating, but I think we could be holding everybody up in here. Shall we go back up to the boardroom?
Yes, let's go and have a chat.
So Jo, some people listening might be thinking, gosh, Anna's always going on that dogs are carnivores and can't digest plants. So how does that relate with herbs?
That's a really good question, isn't it? So with herbs, what we need to be thinking about is the kind of the way in which we're giving to them. If we just cut up a load of herbs and shove them in the bowl, I mean, they'll probably eat them. I think we know all our dogs eat some herbs out of the hedgerows, don't they, and cleavers and things like that, and they like the taste. But like you said, they can't really process them, they can't break them down, and they've got much shorter digestive tract, haven't they? So they've got a really strong stomach acid and then a shorter intestines to which to absorb the nutrients from the herbs or the foods, which is why we talk about good quality dog foods, I think. And from our point of view, good quality supplements. So the herbs we use, so we have our powder range, like the 100% pure powders, which are just herbs in them, and they are very finely milled. So they're quickly freeze-dried, milled down, and so they're absorbed much more easily by the body, really can utilise them to get all the goodness out as quick as they can. And then we have our tablet range. Now our tablets it's really useful for dogs perhaps that don't like the smell of the herbs in the powders, because obviously some of them do smell, because we don't try and cover that up. We don't take odours out or bleach them or anything like that. No. They are what they are, you know, so and that's the beauty of it. So people sometimes say, oh, they smell, but it's like, yeah, they do smell. You have to embrace this a little bit. But obviously some dogs are more delicate palates. We always recommend building up the smell, you know, tolerance by doing little pinches until you get to the full dose. I think if you suddenly just whack a load of herbs on their dinner, none of us would like that very much anyway. But with the tablets, so if they are a bit more sensitive, the tablets don't smell as strong as a herb. And what we can do with those, we can actually get herbal extracts into them. So they're concentrated, so perhaps a 5-to-1 ratio, so you get 5 times the strength in whatever milligram. So we can put those within a tablet, which really helps them get as much of that herb as quickly as they can, you know, in a good dose. Particularly good for products like milk thistle. No, milk thistle. I think everyone knows what milk thistle is, but it is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, milk thistle, chamomile, these are the ones that people really understand. Now, milk thistle is particularly interesting because the pharmaceutical version of milk thistle comes from milk thistle.
Yes, and much like most farmers, they come from the herbs. They found that the herbs are... they're good and they do what they should do, and what the pharmaceutical industry has done, which is really what they've done with all medicines, is that they've isolated the compound, which is the active compound, and then they either make it artificially in the lab or just extract it. Now, herbalism is very different from normal pharmaceuticals. What we are looking at doing, we know that the active part in milk thistle is silymarin. Silymarin is the good part, but you really want to give the whole fruit and seed, if you like, in milk thistle, because as well as that one compound, it's got loads of other compounds, and it may not be the active part, if you like, in the fact that's the bit that really helps the liver, but they have other benefits to the body, and that is what herbalism is thought. You have that balancing act, so you're less likely to get side effects when you're using the whole plant than just taking one component out, and it really is important to do that. And that is why when we talk about aspirin and white willow, so white willow, if you've given that as a whole, I haven't given it, or I'm sure you haven't given it, but it doesn't have the same side effect as aspirin does on its own because you're taking one part out. So we try and use, so with our milk thistle, we're using the whole fruit, but we've got a standardised extract of 80% silymarin. So you get that really good bit, and you know you've got a standardised amount, but you've also got the other goodness. That product works on multiple levels in the body, because the body might be suffering, not just from, if it needs liver support, but there might be other parts, things going on in the body.
Exactly.
So
and that's, in a way, it's similar for me, comparing processed food, dog food, kibble food, for example, which my listeners, are aware I talk about quite a lot. And, I consider whole, natural food as being much better, because in a way, you've got all sorts of different nutrients in a chunk of, raw lamb that, of course, benefits the dogs. There's lots of different amino acids in that particular bit of lamb that might be enhanced from a little bit of chicken or whatever, it's so different. So I get that, and it is this whole holistic and balanced approach.
And micronutrients, isn't it? I mean, that's what we're talking about, especially when we're giving the powders, which are just, the actual herbs that's been milled down. If we were just going to, we know for ourselves, so you should have this much carbohydrate a day, this much protein a day, this much fat a day. Well, we could just eat those elements ourselves. So that doesn't mean we're healthy, because we're ignoring the whole bit of micronutrients and all those other little bits which are good for us. It's not just about that, and I think that's the same applies. So it's not just about the silymarin, it is about the whole fruit. So that's what we always do with all of ours. We never just produce a product with just, say, silymarin. And for our turmeric product, again, so we haven't just got curcumin, the curcuminoids, which is, again, the so-called active part. We use turmeric root as a whole, but with a standardised amount of the curcuminoids as well. So
yeah, no, and that's really great. And that's, it's become so almost fashionable, hasn't it, turmeric?
Yeah.
Actually, the market has changed. I mean, would you agree on that, Jo?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has. I think the more we've used on ourselves, the more we see, why don't we use it for our dogs, our animals? We can see the benefits. Also, that change of just treating an animal when it's ill. I mean, I think when we're children and things, you only took a dog to a vet when it's ill, but now we're really thinking about keeping them healthy, and that's the real change. So we're giving better quality foods, hopefully if they're making the right choices, and good quality supplements on a daily basis. And then obviously we have our herbal products that will help in certain situations, help support, but yeah, everyday health. And I think, the attitude has changed. I think there has been a move over time, like we're saying, from when perhaps our company was started, there was only herbs. Then we moved very much to everything had to be farmers. And now, I mean, it is complementary. I would say people love using our herbal products now, but it doesn't have to be just that. There are occasions that your animal has a disease or a condition where they need to have a medicine, but our products can be used complementary to those as well, so it helps support them. So, but definitely for everyday chronic conditions, that is when herbs really come into the light. Not acute conditions, but chronic conditions. Not really sure. Perhaps end up with the vet. Sometimes end up on like skin conditions, a bit like a steroid antibiotic cycle, but not really getting to the bottom of it. And that's when you're starting to look at holistically, aren't we? Looking at diet, environment, and then herbal supplement to add into it to really make sure you're doing everything you can. Amazing how often that helps. It's not just one thing, is it?
No,
it's
that's it. It is everything. I mean, I always think of it as the 3 pillars of health, you know, nutrition, the immune system, the physical frame, but it's also the environment, because we have got so many stresses from air pollution to water pollution, you name it, even cleaning products in the home. People are unaware of the effect that can have on creating inflammation of the skin. And of course, weird bugs that are coming over, because we've had, you know, the climate's changing, so I think, you know, that might be something to consider in future years as well, different biting insects.
I was thinking about when years ago when they introduced, it was that carpet shaking.
Oh God, yeah, we won't name it.
It was really popular. I won't name it, but it was really
catchy
popular. Went through a real kind of, everyone had it. I must buy that and put it in my home. Well, skin conditions and issues we had, you know, notably the people ringing on the phones, because suddenly they're in an environment which with all these kind of
you know, and
flavours and chemicals and things like that,
and all these
sleeping
air
in
fresheners,
sleeping on carpets, so
and obviously inhaling a load of, you know, volatile organic compounds, because we know we will inhale a bit of carbon dioxide and dust particles, nanoparticles when we go out, you know, because of cars. We can't help that, and it's our lungs are semi-permeable, so, you know, it's all a bit serious. Smokers, oh dear, things like that. So, you know, it's there's a vast array of modern stressors that maybe we're adapting better to than dogs. I mean, dogs are animals, they're nature, you know, and I think animals generally do really remind us of where we should be, you know, in tune with nature. And this, I think, is where Dorwest comes in. I mean, for example, if someone, you know, what would you recommend? I know you're not a vet, but what would you recommend if someone has got a chronic skin condition? The vet's prescribed antibiotics first of all, and then steroids to help with the itching and so on. But again, the dog is kind of stuck in a rut of a cycle of medication. I mean, what might you suggest?
Yeah, that is a tricky one. Obviously, and normally if they're kind of diagnosed, if you like, with it's a often non-specific skin condition.
Exactly.
And people can really drive themselves potty, really, and trying to identify what caused the skin condition, and then the allergy testing, and you know, the results from that are somewhat less than clear cut a lot of the times. There's
so many
so many dusts and grasses, and I remember someone said to me, apparently my dog's allergic to this purple something grass, but I don't even know where that grows. And I said, it's really hard, and I think it becomes very stressful for you as the owner as well as for the dog, and seeing your dog scratching. So obviously if it has an infection and the antibiotics have treated the infection, so that's over, because obviously that's the most important thing to start off with, then I would be looking at looking at their diet, obviously, and whether you need to go down an elimination diet or whatever. But we always say follow a natural as you like, no processed treats, no human treats, because people forget that sometimes. I think they give a diet and then they give them other kind
one of my biggest
treats out their pocket. Like, okay, yeah, no, that's not ideal. Obviously, sleeping, we do say try and, if they're very hot dogs, sleeping on the bed with dust mites obviously is not great if you've got a skin condition as well. So looking at the environment, making sure after you're exercising and running through grass, we're getting rid of some of the pollen that sits on the coat and then gets into And, you know, even some simple things like grooming, because getting that airflow under through the fur, because dirt and old skin, that all sits on the coat as well. So it is all of these parts. And then, of course, we do have herbal supplements that are really great for helping. For skin conditions, we would always recommend our Green Relief tablets. Green Relief it's a great old dog tablet, actually, because it's great for skin, it's great for joints, and it's great for urinary as well. So it's really one of those ones I'm like, that's what you want. You know, it's got watercress, parsley, celery. It's really, really good. It helps balance the pH within the body, which is really helpful. And it helps just reduce irritation in the skin as well. So that's great. Green Relief. And then people often give our fenugreek and black garlic tablet, which is really rich in antioxidants. Fenugreek is actually, talking about farmers being derived from herbals, one of the compounds in fenugreek is actually a compound that a steroid was originally derived from as well,
really?
called diasterenin, I think it's called. And there has been a paper written on that. And so, not saying it is a steroid in its action, but there's obviously something in there why this would help. Black garlic, great blood, talking about blood earlier, blood and just helping purity, toxins, you know, it's just, that's a good all-round one. So garlic and fenugreek for that, and then your Green Relief, which are really lovely for cooling the skin as well. So those two in combination with all those factors, because as we're saying, it's not just magic pills. It is good to look at the whole holistic environment.
Absolutely.
And that should help.
And the Green Relief, doesn't that go back quite a few years to one of your grandfather's original formulations?
It does indeed, yeah. We got the really old original. I think there's one ingredient different. I think it had cabbage in it, which people were like, what, cabbage? But cabbage actually does have benefits, and lettuce has benefits too. But and it was called mixed vegetable for years. But I think customers were always a bit like, but I already give my dogs vegetables. And I was like, oh, no, it's not vegetables, it's green leafed herbs. So we changed the name to Green Relief, and it's, and it's a great one. It is one of our key products, like almost like our heritage products, if you like. Because it was, my grandfather's recipe, if you like.
Gosh. Because we're sat here and there's all these amazing cuttings from the past, which I just love because I love history. And I think this is so important as well in Dorwest heritage, because there's this one where you've got bladderwrack tablets.
Yes, our kelp seaweed, bladderwrack, tablets. Yeah, so kelp seaweed was even popular then. I think there's another kelp seaweed, and the garlic's always been used really widely. And the good thing about it is we've got such a great history of use. And we do so pharmacovigilance is the real name, but basically, if we ever get any reports back of any of our products not acting in the way that we would expect them to do, so if a dog perhaps didn't agree with the dog or whatever it is, we do a report on that and we keep track of it. So we have done that for decades. So we have such a great history of use, and I think that really gives our customers the reassurance of trust, because they trust us because of the quality of our ingredients and the fact we do this, we go the extra mile, you know, so we're feeding that back all the time into our product development team. That's really, really important. But that history of use of our products definitely gives reassurance, doesn't it?
Oh, without doubt. And, next year you're going to be 75, which is...
I feel old.
But, that's such a sort of seal of approval, isn't it, really? That for all this time, animals have been, and dogs especially, have been benefiting, which I think is just amazing.
How many dogs are so wonderful to know, wouldn't it? How many dogs have used our products over the years, and, from Crufts winners to, support dogs and... guide dogs use a lot of our products, and it's amazing to have that history, the heritage, and to be part of it on an everyday basis. And I think
when you were young, because obviously you're third generation, is that right?
Yes, third generation. Yeah.
So when we were just walking around, the factory part just a little while ago, you were going, just smell. And I'm like, a smell? What am I smelling, Joe? And it's like, it's tree bark. But I love that. And that was a wonderful aroma. And that really matters to you, though.
Yeah. Oh,
because it's almost like being a sommelier, a herb sommelier.
Yeah, I mean, I've grown up with the smell. I mean, our old premises were next door to my family home. The business was a lot smaller then. I used to come down and help out and so on. So the smells have grown up, and like from a quality point of view, like I was saying, every herb when it arrives, every product I smell and I taste, and that's always what herbal experts have always done. And we've been really lucky over the years. We've had a couple of members of our team that work here who again have worked in the herbal industry for 40, 50 years and know the taste and the smell of every herb, and that's all been passed on. And it's so important to have that knowledge. I mean, herbs do vary because of growing conditions, and if it's a drought year, then there'll be a lot more intense in flavour. In the same way as wines vary and things like that, isn't it? And then,
of course.
And so on that. But yeah, the smell is special, isn't it? Downstairs, it's a keeper's mix smell coming through. What they're packing today, when they're packing valerian, though, it's we're all very chilled, chilled in the business. We have a waft of valerian coming up the stairs.
No, I know, and that really is, so interesting as well as you were saying. You know, it doesn't affect the muscles in the way that the processed, which I guess is Valium.
Yeah, Valium's from valerian, isn't it? So with our combination, so in our skullcap and valerian, it's mistletoe, skullcap, valerian and gentian as well. And gentian's a liver tonic as well, helps support the liver as well. They work very much like nervines, like I said, but on the central nervous system. So that's why they're used in the products rather than on those muscles. So they really do just help them feel a bit more relaxed and more comfortable in the situation. So almost a training aid. That's what I say. It's almost use it as a training aid. So when they're feeling calm, that's when you introduce dogs to situations. So not talking about fireworks fear so much, but talking about a dog that's nervous of walking on roads or something like that, going in the car. All of those situations. It's not, if you can keep them calm during those experiences, especially if they're of a more nervous disposition, a bit more unsure. I've got one of mine, definitely a bit more unsure of new situations. So she is perfect. So skullcap and valerian, when we know we're going to be taking her, she went to Good Woof for a day out and had a look round there and on her own, and normally she's with 4 other whippets, so it's a big thing. And she had time of her life, really comfortable, really relaxed, took it all in, and now she's much better in those sorts of situations because she's had allows them to have a positive experience. And then by you thinking about it and using it in that way, you don't have to necessarily then use it. It's not a permanent thing, because the more comfortable you are in a situation, of course, then you're thinking, this is okay.
Exactly.
What was I worried about after all that? In the same way is, with us, isn't it? The more we do something as well. So it's
such a lovely anecdote to also highlight how training one dog at a time, really, really works to put the energy and focus. Because she will be picking up from the other dogs and being a little confused as to why they're not kind of reacting to that balloon popping in the background or whatever it might be, and therefore becoming more anxious about it. I always suggest, multi-dog households do spend time one-on-one and together as a way of helping train
takes
out.
effort, but it's really worth it.
It does
really get the results out.
Absolutely. And I think, just discussing all this just highlights, how much there is there to make yourself, in inverted commas, a responsible dog owner, because it is to consider, preempting health conditions. We want them, it is one journey. It's not a dress rehearsal with your puppy that you've brought in, that you've wanted for years, and you want to make it the best life possible. And I really think that's where Joe, you and your team can really, really make a difference. And we do get some, I have to say, we do have the most wonderful customers. We really do. We have a loyalty scheme, and I think it's one of the oldest ones in the country, because I think we set it up in the 50s or the 60s. Like, they become a part of the club, Dorwest Club, and people still come up and bring up the very old ones, and they write us letters, saying, sadly I've been buying your products and I've just lost my last dog or whatever, and they never would have lived. I don't feel they'd ever lived as long as it wasn't for you. The support you've given us over the years, and you've always been there for a chat or to talk something through.
And to get that, it does means everything. We are a family business. We're a small business. We all dog lovers, most importantly, and that's like the criteria, because who wants to be speaking to somebody on the phone that doesn't really know why? Why are you that bothered about your dog having bad? Why are you so bothered about your dog? So it is really about that, and that's why for future as well, we're not developing the business to sell it. It's not that. It's not for selling it, floating it, doing anything like that. It's for us. It's for us. It's for our heritage, our family, and it's for doing the best for our dogs. And for our dogs, because we're dog lovers and we can see what they mean to our family, and we want the same for everyone else, and we've got that here, so that that's what we're going to remain doing as long as we can.
I think that's just so amazing and so rare in this day and age. Your range is so expansive and it's so well thought out for specific conditions and all-round health. But with your 75th anniversary approaching, are there any new additions of products coming in?
Oh yeah, that's very exciting actually, and the fact you've asked that now. So yeah, we're 75 years old next year. But this autumn, after fireworks season, we are launching our new joint product to our range, which I know a lot of our customers have been asking for this. We really try to listen to what our customers want, but then also making sure that there is enough information there in different papers and in historical use to make sure that product is the right choice for us. And it is, and we have got a new joint product, and the key herb in that will be Boswellia, and I'm hopefully a lot of you will be excited about that, because we are asked a lot about Boswellia. So
it's an interesting herb. I mean, I did learn about that, because there are so many herbs, aren't there, Jo?
I know,
and it is really working out which is perhaps the most accessible and effective, of course.
Exactly, yeah, and it's really going to really of benefit to the dogs. And this one is definitely aimed for those dogs that have already having some joint issues or just want that extra support. So it will have Boswellia in it, as well as some other ingredients as well. But there is so many studies on Boswellia. There have been good trials, not unethical trials, on the use of Boswellia in dogs, and in humans, of course, and they have really come back with some great information. So it's a natural choice for us. Obviously, it's herbal as well, so it fits really well into everything we stand for. So yeah, we're really excited. That will be coming this autumn. So do watch out for all the information on it. And then, of course, next year, the start of the year, March is Crufts, and we always tend to Crufts. We've been attending for, I think it's 50 years now, apart from when you missed COVID year and foot and mouth year. I think that was the only years. So we will definitely have our new product there, as well as the whole team ready there to meet people. And it is a great day out, whether you like dog showing or don't like dog showing. It's a wonderful celebration of dogs doing all sorts of things.
I agree with you on that one, Jo. I've been into Crufts since I was 8. Absolutely. Never got a rosette myself, of course, no, joking. But there is something really brilliant. It is, you're right, a total celebration.
It is so
special.
That's
something for everyone to look out for, to come to your stand at Crufts.
That's it, yeah. And I think our 75th year is really just going to be about giving back through our foundation. Haven't made the final plans of what we're going to be doing beyond, what we already do through our foundation, but we'll be definitely giving back through that, giving back to our customers, giving back to our wonderful team, because my husband Ben, who runs the company with me, we are supported with the most wonderful team, and we want to ensure, this is really a celebration of every part of our business.
Like a proper family business should
proper
be, really.
Family, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Jo, I can't wait, to test that and see you at Crufts, if not before.
Definitely, Anna, can't wait.
That's our show, Mr. Binks. What did you think? Yes, I know we did get a scoop about a product coming out very soon that's going to be great for you. And you're right, Mr. Binks, it is time for Woof of the Week. As we always say, prevention is better than cure. And to do that, let's take a deeper look at Mother Nature for the solutions. Well, I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please rate and review the show wherever you tune into your podcasts. Thanks again to Joe Broughton White for this wonderful episode, and all the links are in our show notes. Thanks also to my producer, Mike Hanson. Find out more about him at Pod People UK. I'm at Anna Webb Dogs. What's that, Mr. Binks? You're right, we will be back in your feed next Sunday. So why don't you subscribe now? It's free, and then you'll never miss another show. Bye for now.